This episode is brought to you by ARX. You want to be a successful strength training studio owner. The problem is you aren't able to deliver the safest, most efficient and effective workouts, making it harder for you to attract and retain clients, which makes you feel frustrated. I understand that it can be difficult to differentiate your business without the right tools. ARX's breakthrough adaptive resistance technology uses patented motorized resistance and computer software to give you and your clients the perfect workout every single time. BioFit founder John Zarbok says that ARX is clearly the superior tool to deliver the exercise stimulus. My clients are seeing insane improvements in weeks, not months. I could not fathom running my business without ARX. So here's how you get started. Number one, go to arxfit.com/HIB to get $500 off your ARX machines. Number two, book a call with the ARX sales team. And number three, learn how ARX can help you grow your strength training business. Go to arxfit.com/HIB so you can stop struggling to attract and retain clients and start to grow your strength training business with confidence. Lawrence Neal here, and welcome back to highintensitybusiness.com, the podcast where we discuss high-intensity strength training and provide you with the tools, the tactics, and the strategies to help you grow your strength training business. This is episode 348, and today's guest is Brian D Johnston. Brian Johnston specializes in the area of spinal rehabilitation, bodybuilding, and athletic strength training. He has worked with national and international caliber athletes. He is the developer of the zone training and triangular training methods. He has authored over 20 books on the subject of exercise and nutrition science, is a contributor to the Merck Medical Manual, and has written for various magazines, including Ironman and Olympia News. He has lectured internationally and has worked in various judging capacities, including the IFBB and the, how do you say that? METRX, World's Best Personal Trainer. Is that how I say that?
I think it's pronounced metrics.
Oh, sorry.
I think so. You know what? I've heard it pronounced different ways, so I think it's metrics.
Oh, I did that bio so well until the end. Never mind. Well, welcome back, Brian. Great to have you back on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. And obviously one of the reasons we decided to schedule another podcast is, frankly, lots of people wanted to have you back on the show. And I'm not surprised because you shared some really interesting stuff when we first spoke a few years ago. So excited to just reconnect and catch up, really. So how have you been since we last spoke? What have you been up to?
Well, I guess we can forego the last 2 years because I think everyone's gone through the same thing.
Fair enough.
Well, basically the same thing. I've done a little bit of writing here and there, but not a lot. I pretty much gathered the ideas in my head. I've been focused more on, just training with my clients. But I also have a hobby of testing music gear review, guitars, amps, and pedals, and I do stuff like that. So, it keeps me occupied outside of the exercise area. But by and large, I've been keeping pretty steady with what I've been doing in the past.
Did you have a business in the music side?
Well, I do have a website, or I shouldn't say a website, a channel on YouTube called Cool Guitar Gear.
Cool. I love it.
Yeah, it's all one word. I capitalize the first letter of each word, so it's one big word, Cool Guitar Gear. Yeah, I don't want to get too much off topic, but recently I've been doing compositions to music videos, and I create my own videos based on hidden history. And it is amazing how many people are interested in that in terms of our timeline about the fakery with certain government organizations and what they've been telling us over time. And so I've been actually getting a lot of exposure with that, which has nothing to do with what we're going to be talking about.
Interesting. Well, no, I love to hear about the other facets of one's life. And, I'm sure there are many people among the listeners who are interested in cool guitar gear. So we'll link it up in the show notes in any case. So in terms of like personal training and health and fitness, you mentioned you're doing some writing. What else have you been working on in that regard? Just some personal training, or obviously since things have reopened?
Well, I kept up my training with my clients probably within about a month after the first lockdown. because a lot of the people I work with, they're elderly, they have problems, they're sore, and they said, to hell with it, I'm going in anyway. They showed up in masks, the usual. I never wore one, but they showed up in a mask, and after a set of squats or something, they took it off rather quickly.
So how did they react to you not wearing one, especially if they're older, perhaps a little bit more scared and feel they're more vulnerable?
I told them if masks work so well and you're wearing one, then you have nothing to worry about.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much that. You know what I mean? Me wearing one, a mask has holds 3 microns, and the virus supposedly 1 micron, so it didn't even stop anything anyway. You had 20% airflow around the mask. No, I don't. I know you probably don't want to get into the COVID thing too much, but I just think some of the recommendations are not only unscientific, but they're completely unfounded and untrue.
Yeah, I probably agree with most of what you're saying, but you're quite right. There's enough media on COVID, right? So we try and steer away from it. So I appreciate you saying that. No, that's cool though. I'm excited to talk to you about personal training actually a little bit later on in the podcast. And I just want to say at the start of this one, Brian and I recorded a podcast a few years back, episode number 70, which is absolutely fantastic. If you're interested in getting an in-depth understanding of Brian's body of work and really the foundations of his training methods, I think that's definitely, this is going to be a good episode, obviously. We're going to talk about some new stuff, but I encourage the listeners, if you want to learn more about the details of obviously your training method and your body of work, Brian, then go listen to episode 70. But just to start off by talking about workouts together, I'd love to hear, what did your last 2 or 3 workouts look like in detail?
Oh, geez, in detail. Okay, I have to think back, because I'll tell you something.
Or maybe your last workout, if you can't remember, because I can't remember.
Yeah, it's a lot of improvisation. Yeah, every workout's an improvisation. And sometimes I'll get on to a theme. For example, I might say, what, I'm going to do all zones for this week. Next time I'm going to do stutter reps or what have you. So I mix things up quite a bit. And a lot of times when I freestyle, I'm including things right at the spur of the moment. I don't go in with a pre-planned notion. So, in general term, the last workout was all freestyle, last workouts. So I do a split routine. I don't always follow this layout, but quite often it's very similar. I might do like legs on Friday. Saturday, I'll do my back, maybe another small body part, like, neck and rotator cuff, like small body parts. Then the next day I'll do chest and shoulders. A couple days later, I'll do arms. Sometimes I integrate those into one. Now that seems like a lot of, especially if people are in the high intensity training, 4 times a week might seem like a lot, but each body part is probably trained within 10, 12 minutes. They're not long workouts at all. So I'm keeping very true to the point of keeping things brief, except I happen to do a lot more clustering and, short sets, short breaks in between the sets, so that when 10 minutes are done, the muscle is completely done.
What do you mean by clustering? Can you just elaborate on that?
Cluster, just small sets. People are thinking, okay, I'm going to do a set for, we'll say a bench press, what have you. They'll go in, they might do a warm up, maybe not, but quite often there's a little bit of a warm up, and you do your 1 hard set, then you walk away. Other people, they might say, no, 1 set's not enough. I do 2 sets or 3 sets, or might pyramid up and down. I don't really think of it too much like that. Each exercise has a specific effect on any body part, or on the body part in question. So I do change up my exercises regularly, but when I tackle an exercise, I tend to usually beat the crap out of it in sets that might be 20 seconds long, 30 seconds long, followed by a 20 or 30 second rest. Then I keep piling those on. So the warm-up is integrated within the exercise clustering itself.
Right.
Unless I decide that I want to do like something, like a light warm up and start off heavy and then strip it on down. Well, but the warm up is still within that clustering effect. If you think of it as the whole unit, how much activity do you need to prepare the mind and body and get right to it? But in a nutshell, that's what clustering is. There's small sets all strung together with very brief rests. It does take time. And when I say time, probably a matter of weeks or a month. It doesn't take that long, but it takes a little bit of time to know when you are done an exercise and when you're done that clustering effect.
And so to know what it feels like to have completed that cluster sequence then, and the fatigue, is that what you're getting at?
Yes. With enough experience, I'm sure it's a lot more difficult for women because they don't have as much muscle mass. It's more difficult for beginners because they don't know where to start. But when you have some experience, you have a sense of when an exercise is done. And it's either time to move on to a different exercise, or maybe you're done the body part altogether. Quite often when I train ladies, if it's the squat day, nothing else is done except squats. And it might be 2, 3, 4 sets only because I'm including the warm-ups with it. But when I really push the squats hard, whether it's 1, maybe 2 sets, I'm done. So it is, in a sense, it's very much high intensity because I'm putting in a lot of effort once the weight starts building up. And some muscle groups need very little buildup. Like fast twitch muscles, you can do almost next to no warm up, just a few reps just to get into the groove and then go right for it. Other muscles, the slow twitch, the intermediates, they take a little bit longer. So it takes a little more coaxing to get that really good feel. And, the reason why I support this, by the way, I don't think there's anyone who can deny the fact that if you do a second set of something, even if the first set's only a warm up, it doesn't have to be hard. But the second set always bites harder. It always feels better. The contractions are always more intense. So there's very few people who can just walk into the gym. Okay, I'm going to do a set of squats and walk out. I'm done. I'm done the squats, or I'll go into a different body part. It doesn't work like that, especially with bigger and more complex exercises. But the idea is to do as little as possible to sort of get your body and your mind up to that ramped up position where you can push it a lot harder and then walk away.
I think it's probably a prudent time to say you've written this encyclopedic, and I mean this complimentary workout porn called Advanced Bodybuilding Methods and Strategies PDF. And, it's like, what is it, 500? I'm just looking at it here, 568 pages. It's epic. And it's the sort of thing that, my listeners will just devour. And because I'm thinking there's a lot of stuff we're not going to be able to cover, obviously, everything in the book. And even across 3 podcasts, we couldn't cover everything in the book. And so I want to bring it up now in case people I want to learn more about what you're saying and I want to understand it in more depth. Where can people get hold of the PDF? Is that on your website? Did I email you, Brian? How does that work?
I don't even have a website of any kind. So, I'm interested in, making a living and selling things, but I've never really pursued it that hard. I'm busy enough with what I'm doing. But people can email me directly. And you have my email. It's Logic, Logic, B like boy, D like dog, J like John. So it's my initials, logicbdj@hotmail.com. And they can ask questions about it. I will be upfront because, people always ask and they say, I heard you have a book. My rate is $149 US. Now, that seems like a pricey amount, but it does come with 3 DVDs that I have to ship out. The PDF book itself actually comprises about 3 or 4 different books, along with 4 or 5 reports that I did ever since I sold the IRT, which was early 2000s, I believe. So I compiled a lot of information and a number of books and reports since then. But I integrated everything under one cover, so that one book or aspect relates to another. So I have cross references of pages, so people know where to look for more information within this one big volume. So there is a lot of work and a lot of information in there for the price. I just want people to know that.
Yeah, Brian, get a basic website up. Why haven't you got a website up for this?
Too much time, I guess.
Well, we're promoting it now all the same. And we'll make sure we'll put your email in the show notes so that anyone interested can contact you to find out more about that.
You're on my website.
Yep. Yeah, there you go. I tend to be the website for a lot of our colleagues, actually, because you're not alone in this, the way you look at this. So no, I appreciate you just answering some questions there on the workout. And let's just talk about your last workouts. When did you do your last workout?
My next one is actually this Friday. So what I did, I take a week off after every 3 weeks. So if you look at the month of December, I'd work the first 3 months, and I take a week off. So really, once I take a week off, it's like 2 weeks before I get back to it, if that makes sense.
Can you remember? Sorry, Brian.
Sorry. So I just backtracking. My last workout, if you want to look at each body part or, in general, like I said, it was very much freestyle. So, the first workout of that week would be legs. And I did do a squat workout. The squats, I did do on the Frank Zane leg blaster. I'm not a big fan of, loading a bar on my back and doing it like that. Smith machine, I don't mind. But to do back squats, I don't do that anymore. You get to that age and all that. It just doesn't feel right. It feels horrible actually. But so the squats consisted of freestyling. Now, how to explain that? I started off light because my legs tend to have a lot more slow twitch intermediate, so it takes time to build up before they really get going. And so I started off with a very modest weight, just doing that warm up, knocking off 15, I think it was 20 reps. Sometimes I don't do necessarily full range reps. I might work in the middle third, then I'll throw in a full one, then I'll knock off 5 or 6 in the bottom half. I might do a few in the top, followed by more full range reps.
All in the same set. You'll do different.
Yeah, all in the same set. I'm just sort of like randomly going and warming up and sort of getting into the groove and finding that those little zones or areas where it kind of targets the muscle and it feels good. Then I increase the weight and I do it again. And then the third set, that's where I pushed it. And that's where I pushed it for 20 reps or so with whatever weight I was using. I think I may have had maybe like 250, 300 on the apparatus, which isn't that heavy. It's not the Frank Zane leg blaster. You can really pack on the weight if you wanted to. But even in my heaviest set, it was very randomized. And to give you maybe a little bit of an abstract example, I might start off with 1 or 2 full range reps with that heaviest weight just to get into the feel or groove of that weight. And then I'll head down into that bottom half and I'll just keep focusing on that bottom half. Once the burn and the exhaustion starts coming into the muscles, I get out of there. Then I might slowly dip down. When I say slowly dip down, taking my time on the eccentric or the negative so that I can catch my breath. So I get down to that middle third. The bottom half's a little bit too tough at this point because I'm getting tired from it. Then I'll work that middle third. Then I'll come up all the way to the top. Well, during that time of working in the middle third, the bottom half gets some recovery because the muscle fibers that work in one zone or area are not necessarily the same ones that work in another one. There's a handoff. So I might head back into the bottom half for a handful of reps. Then I'll come back to the top and start working the top half. Now, the top half's a lot easier than the bottom half in a squat, but it still burns. It really catches up. But it gives you a little moment of reprieve and to also catch your breath. Although you're pounding out the reps, it's a lot easier to breathe in that top half than the bottom. Once I feel like I'm almost fully milked the top half, I start doing full range reps again, which might be only 1, 2, or 3. Mm-hmm. So that was actually my last leg workout. Now, the day after, I did chest and shoulders. I incorrectly stated that I do back on Saturdays. I do that on Sundays. But
sorry to interject. Just go back to a leg workout though, Brian. Is that just a one exercise, or did you do anything else on that day?
That was it on that day. I find whenever I do squats, like I might do, I have a neck machine. I do rotator cuff work. So sometimes I'll do like easier stuff. Okay. I won't do rotator cuff work though prior to my chest day because you want to keep the integrity of the shoulders as strong as possible. You're better off doing rotator cuff either right after chest or after chest or a day after or something, when you don't have to worry about the stability of your shoulder joints. Mm-hmm. So that's the only thing I do on that day. Now I tend to alternate my leg training. I know a lot of people aren't into squats. I have like 6 different ways to do squats, so I can do different type of squat each time. I'm not always doing the same type of squat. I have different equipment or whatever to do different types of squats.
And you'll never do the same exercise like
yeah. So I have an adjustable.
Yeah,
I have an adjustable Smith machine. I do free weight squats, but I use that squat harness that allows you to do front and Zercher squats. Are you familiar with that?
No. What's that latter squat you just said?
A Zercher squat. There's a guy back in 1800s, early 1900s. I don't remember when. It could be 1950s for all I can remember. But his last name was Zercher. And it was before they started having squat racks where you can, you had to lift the bar and get it on your shoulders, and you had to get it off your shoulders after the squats, which is one of the reasons why a lot of the old timers didn't have very good leg development. It was just not very practical. But the Zercher guy, he cradled the barbell in his arms. So you can imagine it's running across around your waist area. Mm-hmm. This squat harness, they come out of Australia or New Zealand. I forget where I ordered it from. It wasn't that expensive, you know, 100 and some bucks, couple $100 is all aluminum. It was made one at a time, you know, for the orders, but it has pins. So this contraption that goes over your shoulders, and it's very much like the Zane leg blaster. You know, you have that harness that curves over your shoulders. So you don't have to hang on to anything, or you don't have to hang on to the weight itself. Well, this harness has pins that stick up around your neck area, so you can do a front squat, and guaranteed your legs will give out long before anything else does. You don't have to worry about shoulder fatigue, arm fatigue, and doing front squats. And you're a lot more upright, and you use lighter weight because it's a lot more strict of a squat. The Zercher squat is actually more difficult, and it has pins right around the waist area, so you cradle the bar right across your waist. Now, I wish I remember the name of this thing, but if people look up like a front squat harness, they'll come up with the images. They'll see it in Google, and it's aluminum, and it fits right over your shoulders. So when I train my legs, I tend to do squats one workout, then I'll do anything but squats the next workout. You know, and that's to save on wear and tear on the back and to do something different. So I'll do leg presses, the leg curls, stuff like that. Then the third workout, I'm back to squats, but it's a different type of squat from what I did in the first one. And then the fourth week, that's when I take it off. So I repeat that pattern with legs.
So, okay. So then you might come back to do the Frank Zane leg blaster and work out on the 5th week after that break. Is that?
Oh, possibly not. I may not touch that one for like 2 months. Because like I said, I have like a good 6 ways to do squats. And then you also have split squat, which is like, you know, one leg at a time, or like a lunge or a walking lunge. So there's other things that I do include in there. So I'm not repeating the same exercise too often, just to keep that agitation and that uniqueness to the muscles present as much as possible.
And this is what you described in the book and in the previous podcast. You talk about general adaptation syndrome and how one of the reasons why you always improvise on all your workouts is to quote unquote sort of shock the muscle and to agitate it to produce the best adaptation, right? Essentially, that's the logic.
Oh yeah, certainly. And you know, that's not just for like young guys wanting to build as much muscle as possible. Hey, I got to have something as unique as possible to shock my muscles and I'll get growth. This becomes as important and as critical as you get older. Because at a certain age, like, you know, I'm 56, there's no way I'm going to put on any more muscle unless I decide to go into steroids or something, which is not a healthy thing at my age. You know, I think it's like a young person's game. But as you get older, you don't have the same motivation. You know, it's very hard to get underneath heavy squats and deadlifts or other exercises or push yourself to the limits, which is why I take a week off every 4th week, because if I tend to work fairly hard all the time. So it's nice to have that week off, and I don't lose anything. I don't look any different. I don't lose my strength. It's just nice recovery on the joints and on the muscles. But you know, as you get older, you lose that motivation. You lose your testosterone. You lose a lot of things. You lose, everything is in decline or goes downhill. So the more varied and challenging workouts are in a unique manner, as opposed to just, you know, blood, sweat, and tears, the more apt you are to retain whatever development you do have and whatever strength you do have.
With the improvisation of the workout, do you do any, because it sounds like, you know, just hearing you talk about, oh yeah, you know, just to quote you there, you said, oh, I might use that the Frank Zane leg blaster in 2 months. So you do have kind of a plan in your mind of when you'll rotate an exercise. Now, is all of your planning just in your head, and you just turn up to your home gym or wherever you work out, and you just go, right, today's, you know, chest and back or chest and shoulders or whatever, and I'm just going to randomly pick exercises and randomly pick what zone training I want to do, what protocols, etc.? Or do you have, is there more planning that goes into that? And I know in the book, for instance, there are templates and things that people can use to sort of plan this to an extent.
Yeah, a lot of it is my head. And I'll give you the simplest example. When I plan on doing squats this Friday, but I'm not really sure which one I'm going to choose. I plan on training chest and shoulders this Saturday, but I don't really know what I'm going to choose in terms of the exercise or how I'm going to do them. A lot of times I will think, what haven't I done in a while? So I have a belt squat, the one that goes around your waist and you hook a chain to it, and you're doing squats. I haven't done that in I can't remember how long, maybe because I'm too lazy to put the darn belt on. I find it a little bit of a pain in the butt, or it's time consuming, and
it's a bit awkward, isn't it? Especially when you're trying to put a ton of weight on
it. Yeah. Well, I created my own mechanism, because what I did with that, if you're interested in hearing it, I took a metal pipe about maybe 3 feet long, and I put those metal exercise collars for dumbbells that you get for the cheap dumbbell sets.
Yeah.
So I set those up so I create stoppers. And what I mean by that is I have like hooks or chains on either end of this 3-foot piece of pipe. So I can't have the chains sliding in and out of this pipe. I need them fixed. So I put that bar between my legs, not horizontal, like, right between, and I hook that belt from the front and the back. So now I have this bar swinging in between my legs. Makes sense? And the bar is very close to my crotch area. It's only about maybe 2 inches down. But from the middle of that bar, that's where I have the one chain that hooks onto my weights. And I have like a 12-inch pipe that I welded a flat part on the bottom so that I can put plates on and the plates don't come off, So, and I hook it to that bar. Now, I'm not sure how clear that is to understand, but I get up on a platform and I can squat, hang on to 2 handles, very similar to the Frank Zane leg blaster. So I just have something to hang on to, but I'm in a position where I can't pull myself up. I might only use 180 pounds on that at most, compared to like double the weight if I had a bar in my back or what have you. So you do use a lot less weight, but that's how I worked around that problem with that particular apparatus, because it bent me forward. It didn't feel good. I tried doing it with a barbell, and you've seen it done with a barbell between the legs. And you have to have the plate small enough so that you can squat down low enough. It was just one pain in the butt after another, or else you had to walk on some little blocks to get enough height. So I sort of Jimmy rigged my own setup for that.
I love it. I love how innovative you are. I haven't done like weighted chins or anything weighted body weight stuff for a while, aside from using dumbbells, right? So recently I did split squats with dumbbells, but I used to use that a lot, the weight belt. And you're just giving me flashbacks of being exhausted, trying to slide plates onto this weight belt, and like, being so obsessed with, controlling intervals between exercises that I'd be like, rushing, trying to get this plate on the chain to try and get my next exercise in. And I have a very different approach to training now, a different mindset. But yeah, you're giving me some flashbacks around that.
You start thinking about the economy of everything. And it's been years since I've done anything weighted. I remember doing a weighted dips with 100 pounds around my waist. Probably 60, 70 pounds on chin-ups. But, I was lighter. I was younger. You tend to have this more wiry strength. You start putting on muscle mass, especially in the legs. I remember when I put a 3/4 of an inch on each leg, I really got into squats and I pushed it hard. And my legs went up 3/4 inch, which is actually quite a bit of muscle mass. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you see it in a cross-sectional area, that it's quite a bit of muscle. But that put on 10 pounds of body weight on me. That extra muscle. And could you ever feel it trying to do a chin-up? I'm at the point now, dips I can do body weight, but chin-ups, there's something just not quite right in my elbows. I just don't like the feel of it. So I use a chin dip assist machine and, pull downs or what have you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what do you, if you don't mind me asking, what do you weigh now? Because I know that you're a pretty big muscular guy. I think you were around 200 last time we spoke.
Well,
that's
I'm still
play a
around
role too, right?
Oh yeah, I still have the 200 pounds. So at between age 53 and 56, not a heck of a lot happened. Like I said, it's more or less a fight for whatever you whatever you have acquired over the years. Yeah, you're just trying to maintain everything.
I'm sure you'll be fine. I'm sure you're aging very gracefully, and you're still very young. So
yeah, somewhat.
What are your? I'd love to hear some of your favorite exercises. Obviously, we talked about some there for the legs and for the squats. And what would be your favorite exercise for the chest, for instance, or one of your favorites? If you don't have one, particular.
I'll give you a couple of favorite because I keep returning or going back to things. In general, I like fly movements more than press movements. But having said that, probably two of my favorite exercises, believe it or not, one of them's flat dumbbell flies, but I only work the bottom half. The top half's completely useless. I find that more effective than even doing the cable flies. And I have a Nautilus 10-degree fly, which I use every now and then. But there's something about the dumbbells, it just kicks in so hard. But I think that has a lot to do with a person's mindset, their leverages, and how they feel about an exercise.
So
my other favorite.
Let me just clarify that. So
Sure.
You're lying flat on a bench, dumbbell in each hand. You are fully abducted, right? So your arms are parallel to the floor, and you're just doing that first 5 or 10 degrees.
I don't know if it's even 10 degrees. I will say it's the bottom half.
Okay.
I couldn't even tell you the distance because I go by the feel of it. As soon as you come up to a certain point, you can feel where the tension is going to transition into an easier part, and I avoid that. The only time I ever come up all the way if I want to take a quick 2-3 second break, catch my breath, and head back down into that bottom half. Yeah. But it's very much by feel, whether it's a third movement, half, or 60%. I'm not really sure.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, sorry, continue. I know you were on to the next.
Oh, sure, yeah. The other, I really like dumbbell presses. I prefer those over machine presses, and I tend to do those on a low incline, but I have more of a preference for a flat, I guess you can call it a Vince Gironda, I'm not sure how you say his last name, but Gironda chest press. I like using a wide grip to the neck.
Right, okay. So
I find there's a little less, at least for myself, there's less shoulder burn. And if you know what I mean by that, you go in for a chest workout and your shoulders are aching and burning more than your pecs.
Yeah.
Just what everyone's had that experience. That happens the odd time to myself, not that often, but it does happen, and it's annoying because you're trying to work the chest hard. But I find that wide barbell to the neck. So everything's about tension and keeping it steady and smooth. I'm not into this really heavy lifting and risking the injury by having this heavy bar across my neck. So I want to make sure that's clear.
Do you always train yourself, or do you have someone train you?
No, it's myself. I tend to be working out as early as 5:30, 6 a.m.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If I miss my workout, it has to be 10 a.m. Just right now it's like close to 11 o'clock, and I didn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I just skip it. I couldn't be bothered doing it at 10 or 11.
What's the purpose of that? Just that's when you're most motivated to train, or is that because I know obviously a lot of people like to exercise to start the day, don't they? So
yeah, I'm usually in bed by 9 o'clock, 9:30. Sometimes as early as 8:30 if I'm really tired, but I'm up at like 4 o'clock, 4:30. I was up at 3:30 this morning, but I laid there for a half hour. I didn't want to get out of bed that early in the winter. When the house is a little bit on the cool side. But it's just me. As soon as I get up, within 20, 30 minutes, I don't drink coffee or anything, but as soon as 20, 30 minutes, I'm ready to do something, whether I'm working at the computer, doing a little bit of research on something. I do have a dog here, so sometimes we're even out and about by 5 in the morning, 20 below zero and cold out, but that's when she gets her walk in the morning. She's part pit bull, so she doesn't get along well with other dogs, so I have to do it when no one else is around. But it has a lot to do with I take after my parents. Up early, get the day started. By 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I don't even feel like doing anything. And I'm at the point right now that I train most of my clients all mornings. I rarely have anyone in the afternoon.
Yeah, this is interesting. Something I just wanted to add is I think, and maybe you see this, and I personally went through this, is when you get into high intensity training, I think a lot of people, myself included, start training in this way and then don't do anything else and worry about doing anything else because they think it's going to impact their recovery. And I think that's a little bit of a tragedy because I think it means that we don't do a lot of things we enjoy or just simply things that make us feel good. I recently recorded a podcast with Dr. Bryce Lee, which was just awesome. Thanks to Bryce, as we basically explored all the other things that one can do alongside high intensity training, like different movement practices and various things that might be better for joint health and various other things. And just general conditioning and exercise and physical adaptation. And so where I'm going with this is I will get up in the morning sometimes and I will immediately do like 20 push-ups, nowhere near muscular failure, quite brisk movement speed. And I might do a push-up plank and I might do a few bodyweight squats just to get the body kind of revved up for the day. And then a lot of people report that exercise has such a profound impact on their day and their productivity and their sense of well-being. And I just think that a lot of us in HIIT worry so much about recovery and things like that, or just have such an objectivist view towards exercise that we feel like there's no point doing it unless we're producing some profound adaptation, So this is my own point of view, really. And I just feel like actually doing a bit of exercise in the morning it just makes me feel good. And I don't do anything too intense or too strenuous. So I just thought I'd say that because I wondered whether that was partly what motivated you to get out and about with the dog and also to work out early.
Yeah. Well, with the dog, it's like no choice but a certain time of day because I do like to bring. Yeah, well, I like to bring her to a park and let her run around, maybe play with the ball, and so she's loose, and I got to be really careful because if she sees someone, she'll, or especially another animal, she'll tear right after it and go for his throat. So. Wow. And, I never trained the dog to be like that. She was a rescue dog. So it's just the predicament I'm in. But even if, she wasn't around, no, it's just, I just feel more awake, alert, and ready to do something. And I don't get up and do push-ups. My daily activities usually walking to the bathroom, going for a whiz, and then maybe get on the computer, check my email. Then I'm outside shoveling snow, especially in the winter. In the summer, then that's when I can get in a workout before, there's no shoveling to be done. But I usually do the workout after I shovel because I consider that a pretty good warm up and you're already sweating. So you're ready to go for it. But it's just, it's a mindset. I know other people, a good friend of mine, he doesn't work out before 12 noon. He likes 1-2 o'clock in the afternoon and that's his best time. And I feel like having a nap at that point. So, everyone's different in that regard.
Yeah, I'd probably say I like to train early afternoon. I'm probably the same with that. It's funny because I was thinking about my routine. It's normally the baby monitor going off because my 2-year-old is shouting at me to come and get him. So I'm trying to get these exercises in as quickly as possible before he goes insane. That's basically my timer. Let me ask you one more question on your workouts, and then we'll get into some personal training stuff. So sure. Where you are now, probably a lot of my listeners are probably around your age, actually. And so I think this could be quite useful, but I'm just curious, what are your goals at this point? Like, what keeps you motivated to keep training? Obviously, you've got a pretty, you're very committed to your training. You're training, 3-4 times a week. So what are your goals at this stage? And how does that inform how you train and your exercise selection and things like that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess this is multifaceted. First, you made me look bad because if we're on the same age and you get up doing push-ups and I just walk to the bathroom for a piss, then I guess that doesn't say much about myself.
No, I'm not the same age. I don't know if I made that unclear. I'm 34. So,
oh geez, my apologies. I thought you said we were around the same age.
No. I said my listeners are probably similar age. Well, just because
then your listeners probably know where I'm coming from. As you get older, you don't jump out of bed, do push-ups. I used to do that too. now you just get up a little bit stiff and go for a whiz.
Don't get me wrong, I feel like that too sometimes. So I'm not superhuman.
So then we go into the next aspect, and I think of just anyone around me. If you look at people who are, I don't know if you want to use the word decrepit, but they're not only overweight, they walk stiff, they walk with short strokes, and then you come to find out they're only in their 50s or 60s, which tells you that there was a lot of downtime. Now, maybe they were really abused over the years with drugs, alcohol, even athletes. Athletes kick the crap out of their bodies and they're really sore and stiff. They don't move very well when they get older. That could be it. But it is motivation for me to keep up the exercise in that regard. The other things that motivate me, the goals I have, I'm trying to maintain as much muscle mass, decent leanness. And, you can see my abs, but I'm not like ripped, but I'm in decent shape. And I have very similar muscle mass that I had 3 years ago. I don't measure anything. I just look in the mirror and say, hey, I'm looking pretty good. So, that's good enough for me. train hard enough to maintain that, train hard enough to maintain the strength, but not necessarily going completely off the wall. In the past, I did these, Blitz type circuits where I would ramp everything up for a week to 2 weeks. And it was just an enormous amount of hard work, but you could see the difference after 2 weeks, which sounds a little bit funny, only 2 weeks, but it just makes everything pop, and you actually do build muscle mass while getting a little bit leaner if you keep your diet under control. I can't do that anymore. I don't have the motivation for it, and I don't think it would even do anything. It gets to the point where you can do something really, really intense, and you're no better off. You don't look any better than what you would if you backed off on a couple of sets, a couple of exercises, or even a rep or two.
What would these Blitz workouts look like?
In a general sense, remember, everything's going to be relative to the person and what they do. Now, if a lot of your listeners are in high intensity training, that obviously should indicate that they're doing very few sets, somewhat infrequently, not too frequent, right? Correct. So that's like a general outline. So when I created this whole Blitz concept, and I did test that on myself, I did have a few of my students and people who were into the IRT when I ran that company at the time actually experiment with it, and before publishing it, because I want to make sure it wasn't just me, it wasn't my anomaly. And I have very average genetics. You say I'm big, 200 pounds, but I'm sure if I got really ripped and lean, I'd be 180 tops. I'd be like a Frank Zane at best, but I'm not that good in the body because the guy was on drugs, right? But like I have like a very average physique that looked pretty decent relative to my genetics. Now, so when I tell people about these Blitz cycles, it's always relative, and you have to think about your own situation. So as an example, I'll give you a very clear example. Let's say that you went into the gym and did 2 sets, 2 exercises, 1 set each for your biceps. So you did your workout. It could have been full body, could have been split, doesn't matter. But you do 2 sets and you train to failure. And that's very typical. It could be 2 different exercises or the same ones, but you do the same, 2 exercises, 1 set each. You train hard, then you move on to a different body part, or else you're done. So a Blitz would be something beyond the norm. So I recommend to people double up your volume. So 4 sets. You're already training hard. You're already training to muscular fatigue, so you can't go beyond that unless you start doing applications and techniques. Whether you're talking about forced reps, negatives, you start doing strip sets or up and down the rack. You have to do something that is unusual and a lot more fatiguing, so that when you're done a 2-week Blitz, you're kind of glad that you're taking a week off or even 2 weeks off. So, a lot of this blitzing, you do build a muscle mass, you will retain most of it, so long as you return to, pretty hard training within a week or so, week and a half, you're going to retain most of it. But it has a conditioning and a hardening effect, and it really pops out the muscle, which may be in part due to inflammation. Because, inflammation retains water, so you're going to look bigger. So, Blitz cycles are actually pretty good prior to bodybuilding competitions.
Right. So if you're going on like a vacation, it's like a sunny destination, and you're going to have your shirt off, then do some Blitz cycles
exactly. As vain, and we might laugh at that, but it's true. We want to look good. Why else would you weight train? Some people do it for the sake of, want to be more functional and stronger, but there's always that vain aspect in terms of, hey, I like to look good too. And something like this really does it for a person, but it has to be done very sparingly. You have to think, when am I going to go on a vacation? When am I going to enter a competition, if you are? When am I going to take photos? Some people might decide to get in shape only once a year on their birthdays or a certain time of year, because it's like a goal to, how good can I look in photos every year around this time? So there's different reasons why people would do it. I don't think people lacking motivation certainly wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, I can see that. I wanted to talk to you about personal training. Now, you've been doing personal training for decades, right?
Yes.
What types of people do you train at the moment?
Now, the rare person, the person who comes to me less frequently, would be someone who's probably like a top caliber athlete bodybuilder. Bodybuilders are notoriously cheap because they spend all their money on drugs and supplements. So no, and so they're not going to say, "Oh, here's $50. Can you train me 3 or 4 times a week?" That's a huge amount of cash. So, and I don't train anyone more than twice a week anyway. I've convinced people that all you need is once a week because it helps with long-term retention fundamentally. You know what I mean? Because people have to spend the time to go to you, they have to spend the money, and as long as they get some results, they're happy, because you don't want to make them a little bit sore. Then 2 days later, they're back again. The last thing I want to do is train again. They're still sore. You and I, that's different. You get sore and you're kind of happy. Oh yeah, that was a good workout. Man, am I sore? But a lot of people don't look at it like that. They complain about soreness. So you don't give them walking lunges too often. But in terms of the people come to me, so less often, they're the top caliber athletes. There's very few of those around, and they find their own coaches. Sometimes they hear about you. Then you have the middle of the ground people who decide that they want to get into exercise, and I have some of those. They feel like they need to, and so how do I do it? Sometimes they learn the ropes and get a basic idea, then they'll go to a gym on their own because it's cheaper. Once again, you don't have to pay the membership, they don't have to pay you. More frequently, I'm dealing with the elderly and car accident vehicles, or it's like people who suffered from vehicle accidents. The vehicle accident people, I don't get that many because I'm not licensed. I'm not a physiotherapist. So in Canada, the only people you can deal with if you're a personal trainer are people in vehicle accidents, and it has to go through the insurance company. And the insurance will not approve that until they've gone through all the physio, the massage, the chiropractic, all the other alternatives. Then you become the last recourse, which is a little bit ironic because I'm the only one in the city with a specialized low back neck machine and even rotator cuff equipment that none of the others have. And I've actually trained a few physiotherapists who were injured. One massage therapist, one physio. They're so buggered up, they came to me for training, which tells you maybe how good what they're doing is, but I don't know. That's conjecture. But by and large, I would say probably 90% of my clientele is over the age of 60.
Okay.
Because anyone over 60 will have a problem. Low back, knees, neck, elbows, whatever. There's something wrong with something. And that's just the way the body is. You age and you start having little aches and pains. Or else maybe you get injured a lot easier. So you can imagine someone 65 in a car accident versus 25 and it's the same accident. They could be positioned in the seat the same way. It's going to affect the older person a lot more, likely cause a lot more damage unless they're in really good shape, and the younger person's in terrible shape, with all things being equal. So I'm not sure if that is the same pattern that everyone has seen, but the number of people who've gone through my program and they have their own little facilities, they tend to be working almost exclusively with people over the age of 40. You get some younger ones, but it's not too often.
Let's go.
This episode is brought to you by ARX. These are the most intense exercise machines I've ever used. I remember how fast the pull-down exercise took me to muscular failure and beyond. On the final negative or eccentric excursion, my tank was practically empty, but the adaptive resistance enabled me to continue to perform work until the predetermined end of the set. This experience was very profound and made me realize how effective ARX is in helping clients reach a high level of intensity in their workouts and ultimately produce the best results. I also love how ARX measures and tracks range of motion, rep cadence, total output and time, and more with real-time audio and visual feedback. These features are powerful sales and retention tools to help you convert and keep more clients. As a listener of the High Intensity Business podcast, ARX is offering you $500 off your machines. Just go to arxfit.com/HIB to book a call with the ARX sales team to learn how ARX can revolutionize and grow your fitness business. Again, go to arxfit.com/HIB. And now back to the episode.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'd say that's a fair comment. That's certainly what I see in our strength studio here in Galway and Ireland, but also across the listener base, and we have an online membership with strength training studio owners there, and it's the same kind of things they would report. I'm just curious, when you work with these clients, like, the elderly or car accident victim, what is the program? I know that it's obviously going to vary massively depending on the individual, but obviously a lot of the techniques we talked about at the start of this conversation today are from your book, Advanced Bodybuilding Methods and Strategies, which I'm just thinking might not be as applicable to the populace that you work with in your facility. So are you using what kind of programs are you using? Are you using some of this, zone training and various techniques with these clients, or is it way more simpler than that? Is it sort of just simple single set or multiple set, close to fatigue, that kind of thing, full range of motion, or different?
Yeah, more advanced stuff. There are, okay, hold on, let me back up a bit. There are people who do like the advanced stuff because they like the variation. Yeah. Although even with very basic programs, there's always a change. I've never had anyone do the same program 2 workouts in a row. Mm-hmm. But because, a chest press is a chest press where you're using dumbbells, a barbell, a machine. So long you teach the mechanics from the beginning, and you can put them on any type of chest press. So you don't have to replicate things. Same thing with a fly or a leg press or a squat. The mechanics are very much in line with, the same grouping of exercises for the same body part. So if I were to have someone who is not very inclined to be doing all kinds of zones and freestyling and stutter reps and all this other stuff, I do gear them just toward full range reps. But then I improvise when necessary. I'll give you an example. I might have someone on the Frank Zane squat, and they have this person could have a terrible habit. You can give people shit all the time about things that they do wrong. They'll keep doing them. And one example is when they're doing a squat, they're always coming up way up to the top and lightly locking their knees. So they're getting that slight break between every rep. So if I see the repetitions accumulating, and I know that it takes the breath out of a person, a person can't do 50 reps in a row without stopping. You got to breathe. They're going to stop. Not that I have them do 50 reps, but if they're the repetitions start climbing up, and I know the weight is not quite hard enough because I can't get them of that filthy habit of coming all the way up and lately locking their knees to get their break, I will then cue them to do only the bottom half. Okay, go all the way down, bottom half. So they're doing their reps, and sometimes I have to put my hands on their shoulders so they don't come up any higher. So in that application, I am having them do something that's beyond just full range repetitions because it becomes a necessity. There are other times I might have them do burnouts. And what I mean by that, like burns where you do the partial repetitions. Mm-hmm. We might decide to have a leg day that's pretty tough. So we'll get them on the leg press. And once they're done, they're set. I said, okay, give me 20 reps just in the top half, top 3 inches. I don't care how short the stroke is, because even a short stroke's going to hurt. Then they will complete the set like that. So I do more advanced applications every now and then. It has to be within reason, because I've got people even in their early 80s that I'm training, and quite a few in their late 60s, early 70s. So you can't go completely off the wall with these bodybuilding methodologies. They have to be done sparingly and also relative to the person. And I have some people that can't even fathom thinking about a stutter rep. And even when they do their set, if I say, I want you to get to a level 7 out of 10 in effort. Now, keep in mind, I might have been training this person for 2 years. You think they know what a level 7 out of 10 is if you keep explaining it and telling them what to feel for. But they, they'll just go about doing their set, counting reps, and they count them out loud. 1, 2, 3. And, I used to say, what the hell are you counting for? I'll focus on the reps or whatever. You just focus on the exercise. It doesn't matter. It's that their mindset is there. So, it's true that things vary so significantly, but I try to throw in something more challenging or unique or different from what they're not used to every now and again when they're mentally there, but also when they know that they're going to be working an exercise or a body part a little bit harder than normal.
So just to clarify, do you have quite a bit of improvisation for every single client, for every single workout? So no 2 workouts the same, right?
Yes, correct.
Doesn't that become a bit of a headache with planning?
No, not at all. Because, when you've worked with someone, let's say if someone's been with you for 6 months, you have a basic understanding and feel for how much that person can lift in a particular exercise. Even when I have someone new, if I have someone who's, say, a 50-year-old woman, and she's going to be on the neck machine, I know very full well that if she doesn't have a neck problem or injury, 40 pounds on the neck machine, and if you're familiar with the neck machine, 40 is not that heavy. But I know full well that I can get her on the first time with 40 pounds. Same thing, the low back machine with 80. I know she can do chest presses with 8 or 10 pound dumbbells. And depending on their structure, I have some clients that are a little more, I won't say stocky, they're just like more athletic and more brutish, if you want to call it that. Maybe that's not the right term, but you can tell, hey, 10 pounders going to be a bit on the light side. I better go up to 12s this first time just so they can get a proper feel for it. So once you have a general idea of what they can do with the weight, you can improvise no problem. You can mix up the exercises. To give you another example, let's say that I did put them on a leg press and it was too light. For some reason, maybe because it was the first exercise, they weren't pre-fatigued, and the weight wasn't heavy. That's when I start saying, hey, let's go into the middle third. Let's just do the bottom half. That's a lot harder than the full range reps. Then I can always increase the weight a little bit next time. So the improvisation is actually a very useful tool because you can target zones or do something with the exercise that isn't quite working. It's like if you gave someone too much weight, there's two things you can do if you gave someone too much weight. There are more than two, but two basic ones. One, you can say, we're just going to do top partials, instead of going into that bottom half where it's really tough. Mm-hmm. And then you could always say to yourself, whoops, that was a little bit too much because, they were struggling with that weight. So I had to get them to do that. Another option is just to strip off some weight. Hey, it's too heavy. Let's take off some weight. So in terms of prescribing the weights, it's not that difficult. You can improvise very easily, whether it's too light or too heavy or spot on. In terms of the exercise selection, you can be incredibly varied because if a person's come in and you know what they're going to be doing, if they're doing a full body workout, they're going to be doing something for legs, for back, for chest, for shoulders, for arms, abs, neck, whatever you have lined up for the person. So if you know that they did a leg press last week, it doesn't take much brains to say, hey, we're going to do a squat or lunges this week or a different leg press, or we're going to do the same leg press, but we'll just do it in this style of training rather than regular reps.
I guess you need, unless you're very creative with body weight, you need just sufficient equipment in order to provide that constant variety.
Well, yeah, because, when you think about body weight exercise, I don't really know that many people up in their 50s who can do push-ups. And it's not because the exercise is difficult. It's because the shoulders are worn out. By the time you're in your 50s, 60s, they're not like what they were when you were younger. And you can feel it. You start doing those push-ups and you can feel the ache right into the joint. There's something not quite right. And I'm not talking about an injury pain. It's just like an uncomfortable sensation.
And you think that impacts everyone at that age, regardless if you've been doing, sensible strength training your whole life?
Well, I think I believe I did sensible weight training probably 90% of my life. I did a lot of bullshit, like magazine routines, trying some Olympic lifting. Everyone goes through those trials and tribulations. But everyone in every aspect is based on that bell curve. You're going to have some of these people who are so tough as nails. It doesn't matter what you do to them. They rarely have aches or pains, and they can work circles around you when they're up in their 60s or 70s. But then you have the other end of the spectrum, people who are young. And I'm not sure if you know of anyone these days, but I know a number of people who are in their teens, early 20s with low back issues, neck issues, that issue, and there's some other issue. Now, that might be due to lack of even exercise and activity in this current crop of young people. That might be the case. But, by and large, most people are somewhere in the middle. You could be super careful with what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you get this twinge, this little ache in your knee or your neck or someplace, your low back, and you're thinking, I never had that before. And it goes away. Then every now and then it comes back, and sometimes it stays for a little bit longer. Then it might go away for longer. It fluctuates. But by and large, I think just about everyone has minor issues to some degree, and it's one or two body parts. I do. Like I injured my low back when I was 15. I had an injury then. And every now and then it crops up, but I'm still squatting and deadlifting. It didn't stop me. And quite often it doesn't even hurt while I'm doing it. Quite often it's like a day and a half after I feel a little stiff and achy from doing those things, but nothing really that bad. But it's still there. You still have to account for it, which is why I like to cycle things. If I'm going to do a deadlift, I don't deadlift past my knees. I don't go all the way down to the floor. It's always from knee level, because to actually work the low back and upper back musculature from deadlifts, you don't have to go any deeper than that unless you're competing. So that's pointless. Same thing with squats, which is why I really like doing squats on the Smith machine I have. It's adjustable, and I use the Dave Draper top squat device quite often on squats on the machine, because you don't have to hold the bar where your hands are held in front of you if you ever check out that apparatus.
Yeah.
A little bit of a tribute to Dave, who just passed away not too long ago. I'm not sure if you heard of that.
No, sorry. What was? Can you just repeat the?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was giving a plug. I was giving a plug for the Dave Draper top squat device because I love using it, but Dave Draper just passed away about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago.
Was he a bodybuilder? Sorry, forgive my ignorance.
Oh, Dave Draper? Oh, geez. He was on Beverly Hillbillies. He was so famous. He was Mr. Universe. They called him the Blonde Bomber.
He's first Mr. Olympia. I'm looking at him now. That's very sad.
Yeah, the first Mr. Olympia, he lost to Larry Scott.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'm actually, I know I should be, I'm the host of this podcast, right? But I'm not actually I'm not massively into the bodybuilding scene. Obviously, a lot of my guests are and listeners are very into that stuff. But I couldn't really name more than like 10 bodybuilders probably. So forgive my ignorance on that one, Brian.
You know, if you brought up a bodybuilder's name who competed in the past 10 years, there's probably a very good chance I never heard of that person. I haven't been into bodybuilding. It got so, it's always a drug-based thing. You know what I mean? Like that's obvious. But it got so ridiculous with the drugs and the sheer size and the GH use.
This guy's huge, isn't he? Is Dave, would he be using steroids?
Yes, yeah. God, steroids been around for decades and decades.
Because he doesn't have that in the picture. At least the picture I'm looking at, he's an amazing physique, and he doesn't have that bloated gut, that they get from.
Well, yeah, that's water retention from inflammation in the body from all the excessive training from the GH use. I think there's a lot of factors involved. Now, if you saw Dave Draper in his peak form when he competed at the University of Mr. Olympia, when he lost to Larry Scott, who won the first Mr. Olympia. And if you never had any other reference to look at, like today's bodybuilders never existed, you say, holy shit, how did that guy get that body?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So everything, the times are always relative. It's like the technology, it's like cell phone technology 15 years ago compared to today. Back then, when the first cell phone came out, it was like, wow, look at this. Am I ever lucky? And not too many people in the world has this thing. Now it's a piece of garbage compared to what's out there. So, bodybuilding is no different. And it's not the training techniques. It's not advanced nutrition. That's a load of garbage. It's just more and more drugs that these people are taking. Some of them take so many drugs that they don't even train for half the year. They'll train 6 months out of the year prior to a competition, and they lazy around for 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just looking at pictures of Dave there. He looks incredible, and it's very sad. Congestive heart failure, apparently.
Yeah, he was 79 though, and about I'm really guessing here. Well, I'll say a decade ago, he had quadruple bypass, to my knowledge. So the fact that he lived for another 10 years and he lived to be almost 80, that's not too bad. My father was one heck of a hard worker. He died at 78. Same did my mother. You wouldn't believe the work ethics of these two people, and she died at 77. Completely unexpected. It wasn't like all of a sudden, it was all of a sudden, you got 2 weeks to live. So when I hear of a Dave Draper living to be 79, well, that's not too bad. It's probably a very average age.
Yeah, that's a fair point, actually, when you say it like that. So I just want to cover a few things here, more on the personal training side of it. How the hell did we get onto Dave Draper? Just curious.
Oh, I think you're talking about me changing up exercise, and I brought up the top squat.
Oh yeah, that's it. And the device that he made that he made famous. Yeah. No, I remember now. Well, I wanted to ask you, because I'm just conscious of time, and I wanted to ask you what you think makes a great personal trainer?
Well, I find there's two aspects. One's the psychological, but one's the flexibility of training. Now, when you look at the psychological, you have people who are very sensitive to whatever you say. Well, you can't say, "Hey, geez, you're looking a little fat around the middle there after the holidays. So do you do a lot of eating and drinking?" Other people, they laugh it off or they'll bring it up themselves. And I have one client who couldn't stop laughing because he wanted to go diving and he got the biggest wetsuit he could find and it still wouldn't fit him. He couldn't zip it up to get it over his belly. So, you can laugh about that. It's a psychological flexibility. And even like if you have people who may have been in accidents, they have injuries, and they're very sensitive to stimuli and to the exercise itself in terms of how it hurts or feels, and being able to work around it and being able to motivate and get people to put in a decent effort relative to their abilities, of course. That takes a little bit of time and skill. You have to have that empathy so that you understand where the person's coming from, of what their goals are, what their apprehensions are about doing anything. So that has to be taken into account. And then the flexibility of the training. There's nothing wrong. If you have the average person, you put them on an average workout, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with average. But you have a lot of people who are not average or below average, they're above average, and you have to be flexible enough to know what to do with those people. And that takes skill, but once again, it takes empathy, and it takes yourself to do those same workouts. If you're going to have someone do a workout, you should have done it yourself at one point. Which also means, and I've seen these little skinny people. I can tell these people, they may do a little bit of training, but they'll train these bodybuilders or these athletes, and they'll put them right through the ring or just kick the shit right out of them in a gym, and they've never experienced that themselves. You really need to know the experience behind the exercise and the programs, so that you can sense when a person's had enough. When you can sense when they're not getting enough of a stimulus or an effect, because you can see it in their face. You can see how they're responding to it, and you know what it's like yourself to have gone through that experience.
Yeah, I think that's so true. So like the overriding theme there is being able to sort of have empathy and adapt to the individual. So it's funny when you said about that person, so they couldn't fit in their wetsuit. It always catches me a bit off guard when a client comes up to me and just outwardly says something they're not happy with, or they grab their gut and they shake it in front of me, and I'm probably not great in that situation. Or my reaction is normally, "Oh no, you're fine. Like, it's no big deal." I won't say, "Yeah, you're a fat git. You need to lose some weight." I will always be honest. I'll always say, so I'm going to contradict myself a little bit, but I'll say kind of like I won't repeat it and make them feel bad, but I will then give them actionable advice as to how they can solve the problem. Right. So I'll be honest in that regard, but I won't like exaggerate the problem and like go with it, if that makes sense. I won't, that's just my own style.
Yes.
Didn't explain that very well, but.
Yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from. From my perspective, and this might, support what you're saying. If they make a comment about, "Oh, my gut," or it's usually the gut. So women, sometimes it's their thighs or the butt, but they'll talk about their waistline, and it's like, that's why you're here. That's why we're going to work this together. We're going to strategize. Yeah. But what I'll get from people at the very beginning and months after training, I get the same, very similar comment. "What can I do for my abs?" Because I rarely have anyone do ab. I can't remember the last time anyone trained abs at my facility, because I keep training them to pull in their stomach and keep it tight for squats, deadlifts, chest press. Doesn't matter what you're doing. You keep your stomach pulled in and tight. And there's a lot of tension that's being built there, because some people, maybe a lot of people, they don't do ab training very effectively, because they can feel it in their hip flexors. They can feel it in their low back. Even, and if you use a little, you cut back on the weight, then all of a sudden they're doing way too many reps and they're not getting the same type of workouts. I haven't even bothered with the ab stuff. So when these same people, or maybe other people, 6 months later, 8 months later, what can I do for my abs? So this is my strategy with them. I said, and I'll tell them, when you train your abs, it's like any other muscle. You train them hard, you're going to build the muscle. So if your waist is currently 35 inches, you're going to build a waist to 35 and a half to 36 inches, right? Because you're building muscle, the obliques, the abs, and of course you build thickness in the low back muscles, which adds to your waist without it looking wider or more fat, right? So keep in mind that we're going to build muscle and your waist is going to get bigger. And they'll say, well, I don't want that. I said, oh, then stop drinking so much alcohol and eating so much. And then I'm not kidding you. Like how I say, people usually over age 50 are the brunt of the clientele. Show me a 50-year-old who doesn't drink wine or other alcohol on a regular basis. And I'm not sure about you're in Ireland.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know about Ireland, but Canada is supposed to have one of the highest per capita rates of drinking out of every country. I don't know how true that is. But I have clients, and I'm not bullshitting you, every night they'll split a bottle of wine with their significant other, and sometimes they'll each have a bottle of wine.
Do you think that's related to the cold weather? It's pretty
darn hot. It's pretty darn humid and hot here in the summer, and they're drinking beer and wine still. So you know what I mean? Like they're always talking about
I didn't know what the climate's like, to be honest. Not been over there, so. But yeah, Ireland's got the stereotype, hasn't it? Of a lot of alcohol consumption. I think I've looked at the data before, and I think it's comparable to the UK and not as bad as the US. I think it might have been looking at the US as a collection of states rather than looking at individual states. But yeah, I don't know how it compares to Canada, so I couldn't say.
I think Ireland and the UK has a bad rep only because there's so many pubs that people use as social gathering points, as opposed to let me get completely stinking drunk.
A bit of both, probably.
Yeah, I think it's something very cultural about UK and Ireland, but the pubs and relaxing, talking with friends, gathering with friends, and having a couple. Canada and the States, there's more of this binge drinking attitude of just like taking down quite a bit in a short amount of time and getting blasted.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of that too, I think, over here. but more probably in the younger generations. So maybe that's the same over there. Interesting. So I just one last question then on personal training. I've got a couple of bullets here, things I wanted to ask you. What about you and your clientele? How have you built up your clientele, your client base? Is it mostly word of mouth, referral, or any other methods you've used for that?
It has always been word of mouth. And I'll talk to you about that in a second, because sometimes it's frustrating. I've tried other means of promoting or advertising, but it does not get the word across. When you have someone who's adamant about what you're doing and they're bragging about you and how good they feel, nothing can beat that. And so you can put a little ad up someplace, costs you $50, maybe $100. It just doesn't translate, because unless a person is thinking about hiring a personal trainer of some kind, they're not thinking of answering your ad. They'll go to a fitness facility. They'll say, I'd like to get started. They already have their trainers on site. They sell the membership packages, and there you have it. When you're more independent, you are really focused on that word of mouth, because that is what gets people through the door. And I won't say probably, I know just about all of my people came from word of mouth, whether they stuck with me or left, or there's, whatever. It was always through word of mouth. And you have some clients who are so gung-ho and they can't stop talking about you. They'll take 10, 20 of your business cards at a time and give them out. And 10 or 20 cards, it might result in only one person, sometimes none. So you never know. And then you have other clients who've been training for years. obviously they're happy with your services. They've been with you for years, and you never get one referral from them. So I think referrals, I'm not sure if I'm even one to be bragging a lot about, you got to check out this person or do this because this is really good. I know the information in my own head of what is kind of good out there in different areas, whether you're talking about exercise or not. And I'm not really that vocal in terms of, here's a business card. You got to go check this person out. So that has its limitations.
So you're not very proactive about it. Instead, you just let the workout do the talking. If the client wants to provide a referral, then they will.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
And you're also quite hard. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I was going to say if they ask for business cards or anything like that, then fine. But I never push anything on anyone.
Interesting. And it's interesting as well because you don't have a website, right? For your personal training, it has to be word of mouth. It has to be business card, phone number, email, right? Is how people will contact you.
Yes, correct.
So that's just an interesting case study, I think, again, I'm thinking of listeners out there that run small shops and looking to acquire more customers and, have, websites and paid social media and still struggle to acquire customers when maybe there needs to be more focus on the workout, on the customer experience.
Well, yes, but, you have someone with a small shop, they're advertising, right? Because they have a sign and they have a window and people say, oh, there's a place where people go to work out. So at least it's in their minds. I train people in my house. I have the lower half. I have it divided into the lower half is all the equipment. So if you were to drive by, you wouldn't have a clue what I do. I don't think I don't really speak to any of my neighbors. Oh, sorry?
Secret gym.
Yeah. Like the people on the street, like I say hi, they walk by, I wave, but I don't really know their names. I don't really know who they are. Things have changed a lot over the years. Now no one talks to their neighbors, but I don't think anyone on the street even knows what the heck I do.
Wow. Fascinating. There's a few people like you out there though, in our space, just have these kind of private home gyms and train clients out of there and, live a happy life, make a good living doing that. I think that's great.
I think it helps when you're not a spender. I've always saved all my life, and I do buy things. I have like a little music studio. I have all kinds of music gear in here, and I've got a gym full of equipment. So I spent money, So, but by and large, like I can work part time and live comfortably. I don't have to have a lot of clients to do that because I saved all my life. I've invested. So, things like that help. So personal trainers have to be thinking in terms of the long term. You might be young, you might be a 20-somewhere, 30-year-old personal trainer or whatever age, but you have to think that you still have to save up. You have to be very careful what you spend your money on because you never know when your clients are all of a sudden going to disappear. Look what happened during COVID, all the lockdowns, and what happened to a lot of the gyms. But if you had like 50, 60,000 saved up over the years, you say, okay, well, I got a nest egg. I can actually survive and wait this out if I have to. I just got to be very careful. But a lot of people are not like that. And to me, if you're a personal trainer and you think of it as a business, you have to treat it like a business and not blow everything you've got. And you have to think of what if I need a new piece of equipment replaced or refurbished, or if I need this or that, besides paying my own rent, buying my own food, paying my utilities. So you have to be very smart in terms of how you approach the personal training aspect beyond just, even the advertising, acquiring people. Because, it's one thing to acquire people, it's another to keep them. And it's quite another when they decide that they no longer want to be with you or can't be with you, or they pass away or anything, then all of a sudden you're out that money.
Yeah. Wise words. In frugality, there is a lot of freedom in having that approach. So I know I completely agree with what you're saying. Brian, I really appreciate you making the time to join me on the podcast today. It's been fun to catch up. Would love to hear any parting thoughts before we wrap up, and then please also promote the other projects you're working on as well.
Well, what other projects? What was the first thing you said? You want to hear about what?
Any parting thoughts, any kind of words you want to leave the listeners with? Obviously people that listen to this are mainly high intensity training enthusiasts or business owners in strength training, right? They run strength training studios, personal trainers. So any if you don't have anything more to add, that's totally fine. But just any words of wisdom, any parting thoughts, and then again, please promote and plug away other things you're working on, like Unguru Your Life or whatever else you want to talk about as well.
Yes. Parting words. I would probably direct everything more, or at least very specifically, to the training strategy concept and knowing what to do. And I'll give you a good example of this. I'll have people who's trained for many years contact me for a consultation, and they expect me to provide these magical answers. Well, you just have to do this, this, and this, and all is well. And it does not work like that. Let's say someone has a pretty decent routine, but they're not making progress or better progress. The thing is, I don't know that person's genetics. I don't really know what their training habits were over the past 2, 3 years, 10 years. I don't know what their nutrition is like. And sometimes it could be good, sometimes it could be bad. So personal training is very much, and even when it comes to yourself, your own training, you're not training anyone else, just yourself. It becomes confusing because you don't know where to go, and no one has the answers better than you have the answers. A good coach or personal trainer will work with you as a partner to find out what is working, what is not working, what avenues you need to go down, which is a process. It's not something that can be done in a 1-hour consultation. So you have to keep that in mind if you ever hire someone, or if you look into having one of the experts help you or what have you, because experts don't know anything more about you than you know about yourself. And that comes into play when it comes to clients. It's confusing enough to even figure out what you should be doing for your own body, because, you're stagnating, things aren't happening, and you really don't know where to turn. But then to do it with someone who has a completely different body, a completely different mind, is very, very challenging. So, personal trainers, don't be too hard on yourself. You have to have experience, but you have to work with that person, not completely direct the person. I'll train clients and I'll say, okay, well, what do you want to do next? Do you want to work some chest, or you want to move on to back? And one person will say, I don't know. What do you suggest? Another person will say, oh, let's do chest first. I don't feel like doing back right now. To me, I don't really care. You know what I mean? Like, you can put anything in just about in any order and still get really good results. And some people want to be led. Other people need to have input. And I find by and large, anyone who's really advanced should have input. You are there. You're hiring someone as a consult to consult you in terms of how you should proceed, not to tell you exactly what to do, like a parent or a teacher or someone in that type of authority. I'm not sure if any of that makes sense.
No, it does. I appreciate it.
But it's a process, and you can come across one heck of a great training program, guaranteed within 3-4 weeks. If you kept doing that, all of a sudden it's like it's stale. Your mind is not even there. Your body's not responding the same way, which is why I'm really into variation and constantly mixing and challenging things up. Because whatever's great today is not that great, next week or the week after. So, that has to be kept in mind, not only for yourself, but with your clients, knowing that it is a journey. You're going to be on a long journey, and the only time the journey ends is when you stop exercising or when you pass away.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
you never know what's going to come up. You never know. You probably have no idea what you're even going to be doing. Like, unless you happen to be one of those people who like monotony and tradition, and some people do. They'll do the same program over and over and over again, years in and year in, year out, and that's fine if that's what you're into. Most of us are not into that because we get frustrated, we get peeved off that we're not quite looking as good as what we did, or the muscles aren't as full, maybe they're not quite as strong. But this is like a continual process. No one who's really into weight training, who really likes to do these great, really good workouts, they haven't a clue what they're going to do a year from now. And I don't even know, I don't have a clue what I'm doing a month from now. I might have an idea that I want to ramp up my efforts, my overall demands, which could mean more sets or whatever. And I might think that I'm going to be doing that for the next 3, 4 workouts, 5 workouts, 6 workouts before dipping back down. But that's as far as it goes. I always go by, at least with myself, it's that feel that, okay, this is a good day for this exercise or that exercise, or this is a good day to train these body parts, although I'm supposed to be doing something else. Because my mind is there, that's where I want to go. And that's where how weight training should be. Because you're exercising to stimulate some strength, to either maintain or build or, limit the loss of muscle. They have different reasons why you're training. Sometimes it's for just the sheer enjoyment of getting the blood flowing. You have to have that fun aspect and that adventure in that equation for it to be worthwhile and be effective.
Thank you for that, Brian. And what else? Where else are we sending people? So let's just mention you got your PDF, Advanced Bodybuilding Methods and Strategies, and then you've got some materials that accompany that. Which, by the way, for people listening to this, if anyone is, because I'm sure there's people skeptical of your training method, Brian, there's always a healthy amount of skepticism for everyone's different approach. But one of the things I really like about some of your methods is there's lots of tools that you can take from your ebook and to add to your own toolbox to create more novelty for you, for your own training, but also for your clients, to keep you both excited about the workout, which, as we've been talking about, is important from a retention perspective. But is there, as well as that, and obviously we'll put your email into the show notes so people can contact you about any sort of products and services that you offer, but where else would you like to send people as well?
Yes, in about 3 months, sometime in March, I'm supposed to be joining a website called Unguru Your Life, UNGURU, unguruyourlife.com. And if you were to visit this website, it might get a little bit of a new agey hippie type of vibe, only because they're talking about they're talking about meditation and yoga, but there's people there that deal with legal aspects on how to actually reduce your mortgage or get rid of your mortgage altogether. There's people involved in different health and medical aspects. They're getting me on board for the exercise. So they want me on that site to do podcasts, to do fireside chats, and to have people call in, ask questions. So this website is about more or less harnessing your own empowerment, as opposed to, that's why it's called Unguru Your Life. Forget about all the gurus, because someone who's truly a guru would not call himself or herself a guru.
Right. Yeah.
They have knowledge, they have abilities and understandings, but it's the public that may perceive them as a guru. But you don't call yourself a guru. And anyone who claims to have all the answers, they're full of crap. I don't have all the answers. The book and the DVD set that you talked about, I don't even call it a method. I call it a philosophy and a direction. But in terms of all those tools you were talking about, yes, tools I classify the same as methods. These are ideas to try out. You can try them out in different capacities in terms of how much you do, how little you do, how hard you work them, and get a feel for them and decide what you like to do. Same thing with the strategy of training. There's all kinds of ways to strategize and cycle your training regimen, and it could be very simple, very complex, and maybe not at all. But with me taking a week off every 4 weeks, that's really a cycle, is it not? I'm down cycling, I'm taking a recovery before I come back and do it again. So there's an example of something that's very simple, but my materials are all about self-discovery and finding out what does and does not work for you.
Yeah. Love it, Brian. Thanks again for taking the time. Really appreciate it. We'll have to do this again sometime. And for everyone listening, to find the blog post for this episode, please go to highintensitybusiness.com and search for episode 348. And until next time, thank you very much for listening. Let's go. This episode is brought to you by ARX. You want to be a successful strength training studio owner. The problem is you aren't able to deliver the safest, most efficient, and effective workouts, making it harder for you to attract and retain clients, which makes you feel frustrated. I understand that it can be difficult to differentiate your business without the right tools. ARX's breakthrough adaptive resistance technology uses patented motorized resistance and computer software to give you and your clients the perfect workout every single time. BioFit founder John Zarbok says that ARX is clearly the superior tool to deliver the exercise stimulus. My clients are seeing insane improvements in weeks, not months. I could not fathom running my business without ARX. So here's how you get started. Number 1, go to arxfit.com/HIB to get $500 off your ARX machines. Number 2, book a call with the ARX sales team. And number 3, learn how ARX can help you grow your strength training business. Go to arxfit.com/HIB so you can stop struggling to attract and retain clients and start to grow your strength training business with confidence.